Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert, back with another gear review. No interfaces, no mics this time. In fact, I don't even know what category to put this baby into. We're going to be looking at the Silver Bullet by Louder Than Liftoff. Now, these guys, as far as I'm aware, have come off the back of the whole DIY recording thing. I've certainly got some of their gear down there in the sort of 500 series format, but this thing is like no other product I've ever used or reviewed. It's incredibly cool. It's kind of all things to all men. I think they should call it the Magic Bullet really rather than the Silver Bullet, but hey, it's silver and it's lovely. So what we'll do is we'll get up close and personal, and rather than just going and talking about the knobs and pots and what they do, I want you to hear what this thing does as we go through, because it's two solutions. It's a tone blending mic pre, but it's also a tone blending mix bus processor. It really is very clever. You don't need to faff around with patch bays or rerouting. It's all available from the front panel. It's an incredibly versatile, incredibly flexible and amazing sounding piece of kit. So let's dive in up close and personal. I've got a microphone here that's routed through the mic pre. We've also got a session set up on the console which is routed through the insert section on the console, so you can hear that. It will all make sense when you start to hear it and when you start to see me use this thing. So let's get up close and personal on the Louder Than Liftoff Silver Bullet. So here we are up close and personal on the Silver Bullet. Now on this camera you can see I'm talking into this lovely Sawyer's microphone, which is plugged into one of the two mic inputs on the back. Yes, it is a stereo mic pre. You cannot control them individually, but hey, even if you're just wanting to work with one microphone, you can do, which is very nice. We're in mic plus setting at the moment, which is giving us a bit more juice, a bit more gain. If I knock it back to just normal mic mode, you can hear me and you can see that I'm registering on the inputs, but hey, mic plus mode definitely seems to be where it's at. Now, if I click back two more, you won't hear me, and that's full bypass of the unit. So anything that comes in is going straight back out again. And if I go to the mix mode, well, we'll come on to that in a minute. But just to say that I can entirely bypass the rig if I want to, and I can use it in mix mode. I have four main settings. So back to mic plus mode, I've got a polarity switch and 48 volt phantom power, of course. And then we get into the tone shaping and tone blending options. If I hit the Mojo button, you can see things start to happen. I have two sets of controls, A and N. A for API and N for that kind of lovely British Neve type sound. And I have a rotary encoder here which gives me A, N, A into N, and you can see the LEDs light up accordingly, or N into A with the swap light in the middle. Now we'll have a mess around with that in a second so you can hear what it does. We have the type button which gives us a 12 dB per octave roll off at 25 Hz with a nice little resonance push at about 40 Hz just to give those EDM mixes a nice bit of bottom end weight. And we can then kick in the tone buttons for this really nice shelving EQ. I've got bass and sub options, air and presence. And I've got this rather lovely vintage mode which we can kick in, which is really, really lovely and subtle and takes you back to those legendary old British Neve consoles. So let's start having a mess around with the two main tone blending options, the A, the API, and the N, the Neve setting. So back to A, and it's very much now a case of balance because I've got a half decent signal output. I don't want it to pop it too hard. So as I wind up the main gain for A, I can bring back the volume for A. So I'm still hitting around about 0 on the main meters, and it has to be said, the metering on this thing is awesome. It's really pretty from a kind of a turquoisey blue through blue all the way up to purple and sort of really dark purple, almost red colour. It's really nice. I'll wind in some more API and you can hear that my voice is getting more and more rich, more saturated. And as I bring back the volume, you can hear I'm not giving it any more juice, but I'm just driving things a little bit harder. And you can see here that the LED started to warm up, it's gone red from blue. Really, really nice touch. Now there's a little bit too much distortion there for my liking, so I'm going to wind it back and bring the volume up again. Let's flick over into Neve flavour now, and I can do exactly the same. Wind in some more Neve gain, wind back the output volume. Bit more, and it's just starting to break up again. It sounds really, really nice. Certainly on a nice, close, intimate vocal like this, where I'm really close. Really, really nice. It's really subtle, but it is definitely imparting that kind of vintage air, that kind of classic API or Neve-esque tone, whichever you prefer. However, you can, of course, have both. And we can run the API circuit into the Neve circuit. Now, we have to be careful on volume, because obviously we're summing everything now. I'm going to bring back the API a little bit, bring back some more Neve. Really, really nice way to blend the signals together. And of course, I can switch them round, and I'm really surprised how much difference that makes by switching the two back. So from going API into Neve, we're now going Neve into API. I can drive the Neve circuit a bit harder, pull that back. Let's boost the API a little bit to make up for it. I really like that. There's a bit too much saturation there, a little bit too much distortion. I'm going to pull that back because I'm distorting a little bit. I'm going to go back to API mode, get myself a nice level that I'm not going to distort. The tone section is already kicked in, and we've got, at the moment we're on sub. Now that probably won't make much difference to my voice. It does actually quite a bit. Kick it into bass. I've got a really nice low level kind of very Radio 1-esque voice, a bit too much I think. Presence, I can wind in some of that top end, or kick it into air and give me a really, really nice shine to my voice almost. Kick in the vintage mode. So we've got all that control available around the front of this thing. Let's have a look around the back just to see the connectivity and the options that we have. So around the back of the Silver Bullet looks like a bit of a minefield, almost a patch bay. And to be honest, it kind of is, but that single pot on the front is the key to working out the routing of this thing. So we have our two XLR inputs, and these are for our dual mic inputs. We then have the tracks input. Track is basically a line level source that is not your mix or 2-bus or your mics. So it could be the output from your tracking chain, your preamp, EQ, compressor or whatever, or a hardware insert in your DAW used for reprocessing tracks through the Silver Bullet. It's also really important to know that in the track stroke bypass mode, which we're now in, the mix in goes directly to the mix out as a kind of global bypass when monitoring the mixes from your DAW. Now the mix input is for the entirely separate mix circuit. So effectively these four inputs route to the track output, and these two inputs route directly to the mix output. We also have a set of inserts, so we can put a compressor, a limiter or another EQ across there if we want to, but effectively it's really simple. 4 to 2, 2 to 2. Mic and track to track, mix to mix. And you switch between the two using that main control pot on the front.